Hello, this is Erica. And in case you don't already know, recently I started an investment club. And today I want to share with you some of the reasons why I did that. And I'll start with the information in the article that I am showing right now. This is an article that was published in April of 2022. And the headline reads Soaring Markets Help the Richest 1% Gain 6.5 trillion of the 6.5 trillion in wealth last year, according to the Fed. So this was last year. In this case, is 2021, which is why I was intrigued by this article. Because what was going on in 2021? We know that in 2021, we were still in the crosshairs of the pandemic. So while the pandemic is going on, this is happening. That is the richest people. These are people like, yeah, this guy, Uncle Warren and Cousin Jeff. People like this, they increased their wealth by 6.5 trillion in 2021. And the article starts talking about the major drivers of this was soaring stock prices and financial markets. It goes on and it talks more about the driving forces. It says that 4.3 trillion of this 6.5 trillion in gains in 2021, it came from equities and mutual fund shares, according to the Fed data. It also talks about the portfolios of the top 1%. Now, now they own a record of 54% of all of the individually held shares. And it goes on and says that the top 10% owns a record 89% of individually held equities and mutual funds in our financial markets as of 2021. So first question is, who are these people? Let's just be clear. What is the top 1% and the top 10%? Well, if we go to this article, it shows this is a nice chart, which gives us that information. The yellow or the orange line here shows data from 2022. In order for you to be in the top 1% of Americans in terms of wealth, you have to have at least 11 million. And then in order to be in the top 10%, you would be in the 90th percentile. You would have had to have a net worth of 1.2 million. Okay, so now when we go back to this article, we say that the top 10%, they own a record of 89, nearly 90% of all of the equities and mutual funds in our financial markets. We're talking about people who have a net worth north of 1.2 million. So north of 1.2 million owns 90% of the equities in our markets. What does that mean? That means that the rest, 90% of Americans, they only own 10% of our equities. Okay, so that is one of the two things. It's the first thing that inspired me to start the investment club. And this is kind of summarized by one other statement that comes from the Federal Reserve data. The Federal Reserve data also shows us that as of fourth quarter of 2021, top 1% of households in the United States, they held 32% of the nation's wealth, while the bottom 50% held only 2% of the wealth. And it goes on to say that in recent decades, wealth inequality substantially increased in the US. Okay, I would say that is an understatement. This is really a severe wealth gap. I would call it a wealth, maybe crater is probably more appropriate. So this is the first thing that inspired me. The second thing that inspired me to start the investing club is advice and a promise that came from the Bible. This is in Proverbs 13:22. And it starts with the advice. The advice says that a good man leaves an inheritance to his children's children. And that's really the next gen part of Next Gen Investing Club. And then the other part of this is a promise. It says that the wealth of the wicked is laid up for the just. Okay. And I would submit that the wealth, as per what I've just shown you, perhaps it's the top 1%. It's laid up for the just. And I would submit that that would be me. And hey, perhaps you as well. Okay. So my aspiration for this club was formed as a result of these two inspirations. And the aspiration now becomes to accelerate the Proverbs 13:22 wealth shifting promise um, in the lives of everybody in my world, my community, my tribe, my squad, my family. This is my aspiration, and that promise being the transfer of our nation's wealth. That is the part which we now see has been laid up in equities and mutual funds, and are currently in the ownership of the top 10%. The idea is to help to accelerate the movement, the transfer from the top 10% of the wealthiest folks to folk like us, next gen investors. And so Next Gen Investing Club was launched. It is where, as a collective, we would inspire to grow our wealth through financial literacy and investment, with an ultimate goal to take the advice of Proverbs 13:22, sustain future generations forever. So why now? Why am I doing this now? Right now is very important because today, right now, we have a very unique opportunity in our nation's financial markets. And what makes this opportunity unique is that it is being created by our nation moving into economic recession. And maybe in another video, we'll talk a lot more about what that means. But in general, what it means is economic recessions mean that there is a downturn in the growth of our economy. Okay. And we're seeing this today. We know it's happening because we are experiencing some things in our economy right now. What do we see? And why is right now creating what I would call a wealth shifting opportunity in our financial markets for investors that are in the know, like members of our club, or as I like to call them, the just. This is what's happening. Number one, their markets. I call them their markets because, as I just showed you, the top 10% owns 90% of our markets. Last year, they were down by 18%. What does this mean? It means that their equities are plummeting in value. And it means that now we have cheap equities market wide. And we see this in companies that we're very familiar with. Amazon in 2022, it was down in value by 50%. Tesla was down by 65%. Apple down by 27%. These are like the most valuable companies in our nation right now. Are they no longer valuable? Is Amazon not a very valuable company now? Well, the answer is no. I mean, they are still delivering packages to my door every week, just like they are to yours probably. But what is happening is not that Amazon is still, earning $2 trillion in revenue annually. However, their cost of business, the cost of doing business, has skyrocketed, causing the overall value of the company, the valuation, to go down. So that's the first biggest thing that's happening. All of these equities in their market are now coming down to pick us up. Okay, that's number one. Number two, inflation. Inflation is way up. Cost of living, the cost of rents, the cost of food. We see it, especially eggs. All of this is going up. Interest rates are way up. What does that mean? The cost of borrowing money has become very expensive, causing it, and making it very expensive to make large purchases like homes in particular. And then number four, layoffs are way up. They're up as inflation goes up and interest rate goes up. What that means is that businesses become impacted. They have to, causing them to um, lay off their employees in an effort to reduce their operating costs. Okay, and we see this in last year in 2022. There were 365K layoffs that are in plan across all the industries in our nation. Okay. Okay. So back to the opportunity. All of this, all of the things that I just went over above, they are causing a huge selling pressure in our economic markets, creating cheap buying opportunity for us, or the just, as I like to call us. It also is creating this opportunity, the shifting opportunity, shifting of their equities and mutual funds or their wealth to us, exactly like the Bible said would happen. Okay. So yes, this is their market. They own 90% of it, but this is possibly our time to take hold of some of that wealth that is laid up in our financial markets. And this is my inspiration for the Investing Club. So some other things that you might want to know about the club is, number one, the main mission is to provide access to our members to trusted sources of wealth building information and access to a community of like-minded people that will inspire you and challenge you to grow. And so the idea is that we want the club to grow into a wealth building knowledge base, crowdsourced by our members, where you can come, that is, our members can come, learn how to grow wealth, use the wisdom of the crowd to challenge and inspire you to grow. So the idea is that the club will become like the Uber of curated wealth building information, providing our members with tons of opportunities and challenges that have been designed for an easy on-ramp to participating in the opportunities that are presenting themselves right now in our markets. Okay, so after hearing all this, if you think you might be interested in joining the club, what you should do right now, today, is to subscribe to my YouTube channel. That's at E6Dion. Turn on notifications so that you will be the first to know when we publish new videos to the channel. The idea or the intention is that we will be dropping new video content on a weekly basis. You'll get one video per week, giving you the opportunity just to check us out and to see what kind of information we are providing. The other thing that you'll get when you subscribe to the channel is that you will be the first to know when we open up the club for general membership, so that if or and when you decide that you want to join us, you'll be able to do that. Just a heads up, in our next video, I will explain what I am doing personally to take advantage of the opportunities that I've explained today in our financial markets. So until next time, be blessed, and more importantly, find an opportunity to be a blessing. Bye for now.